It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
So right now we're going to talk a little bit about free speech. And that's because the theme of the week, I feel like I need a megaphone. The theme of the week. The theme of the week this week is free press versus media. Okay? And to come on and talk a little bit about this concept is Mr. Joey Williams, Development Director with Political Strategies. Good morning, Joey. How's it going?
Hey, good morning, Josh. It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. So we're talking a little bit about this theme in the first hour, this idea of free press versus media. What does that mean to you, the free press, the media, and kind of juxtapositioning those against one another?
Sure. Well, it's really a great topic. And before I begin, I have to say you're doing an awesome job. And I think I'm not alone by saying that filling in for Paul is a huge endeavor. And you're doing great, by the way. I think it's a really good theme. It's a really good topic. Because there is a difference. You know, if you look at history, you look at how newspapers and how we got the news out to citizens of any country in the beginning versus what it is now, there's a difference. There's a big difference, it seems. It seems like, you know, if you have when you're looking at numbers, for example, if you're looking at, you know, some of the statistics of what Fox News has, what cable news has compared to newspapers and et cetera, newspapers have declined dramatically. The subscriptions have declined. Even when you're looking at big news media sources like CNN or MSNBC, when you don't even have enough watchers or viewers to fill a thimble. Why are these companies still being propped up? Why are these news cable networks still being propped up? And, you know, it's all about truth, in my mind, to find the difference between, you know, news and media. The news nowadays has to be more appealing. It has to be more sensational to get those viewers in. I think that hurts truth in the end.
Yeah, you know, you made a good point there. I was talking to someone yesterday about the Democrat Gazette. They're moving to digital only for Monday through Saturday. And this was in the context of kind of comparing it to government, but the business model of a newspaper, you got to be profitable or you got to cut expenses.
Exactly.
Whereas government, if you're not, you know, if your expenses outgo your revenue, you just go raise taxes on people. But that's a little side note. But I think you're right. I think this idea of a free press, that historically was people trusted it. They trusted their newspaper. They wanted to pay money to get the information. Knowledge is power was a strong concept. I think it still is. The model has really changed, but people wanted to pay money to get that information, and they thought they were getting it for the longest time, I think, from some type of kind of just a straight shooter. You know, here are the facts of a story, and now you have the information. You go and do with it as you want.
Yeah, I think you hit a really good point there, that people did want to pay money to seek the truth, to seek what's really going on, you know, in their local communities, in their own country. And it seems like, you know, looking up a timeline, it seems between the 1960s and 1980s, I know a lot of media companies were bought up by large conglomerates and other chains, which you know, like you said earlier, if a news organization wasn't profitable, it would have to make cuts. It would have to change its way of doing reporting. It would have to change the way it provides that service to the public, because they just simply wouldn't survive. But nowadays, you have these cable news channels and networks that make hundreds of millions of dollars, and it doesn't matter if they're successful in the media arena or the news arena. Simply, they have big companies backing them, and I think that's a danger. And our founders didn't intend to have, you know, this idea of freedom of press. It was very important to them, because they knew that England, Great Britain, were stifling any type of media outlets, even in colonial days. They weren't allowed to print certain things. They weren't allowed to talk bad about the king. They weren't allowed to do a lot of things, and and that really scared them. And today when you have, I call it fake news. I think fake news is a great phrase, because that's exactly what's happening. You have lots of examples. For example, the tragic shooting of Trayvon Martin. That's just one example that I can come up with. You had CNN edit a tape by Zimmerman and the 911 operator. They purposely took out the fact that the 911 operator asked Mr. Zimmerman, what was the race of the individual he was looking at the time. And he said he's African American, he looks to be black. They totally took that out. And the public went bananas over that. They labeled him as a racist, and when you get to that point in our news system where so much truth is almost blocked out, I mean, there's a lot of issues that can arise from that, and that's just one of many examples.
Yeah, you have seen the rise of the term fake news, obviously, with President Trump, and
oh yeah,
I have a kind of mixed feelings about it. I think it's kind of hilarious when he calls out the fake news media and talks about it and highlights it and trashes CNN. I think it's funny. But what he's not done that I think some people say he's done, he's basically taken, just out there and be like, hey, I think they're fake news. This is what they do. What I haven't seen, really, he may have said, I don't know. But what I haven't seen, but what I have seen some here in Arkansas is elected officials trying to silence news stations, radio programs. They want just for them to go away. They want to silence free speech in Arkansas. And I think that's very dangerous when an elected official is advocating to use, maybe not by government force, maybe by government force, tactics to try to silence free speech against them, because it's against them. It's highlighting things maybe they don't want to hear that they have done. So what are your thoughts on that, Joey?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's extremely dangerous to limit those types of free speech outlets. To have a politician say, this news station or this area could say anything they want about me, but because it's bad, I'm going to limit that. That's the definition of censorship, and that's not what our founding fathers intended. That's not healthy for a public to be part of. The truth hurts sometimes, and it's an old saying, but it does. The media, the press rather, has always been there to kind of keep our politicians in check and keep them accountable to the people, and that's why so many citizens rely on the news every single day, no matter where they get it from. And the issue is that source really conveying the truth without any large biases. And so I think that's very dangerous.
Yeah. You know what these politicians should maybe do is just go show up at Facebook or Twitter and be like, hey, I don't like what they're saying. I don't think you're going to probably like what they're saying either, and get them shut down. Because that seems to be a way conservative news commentators and the like are being silenced now, is through these censorships on Facebook and Twitter and the mediums that everyone uses to get their message out there.
Yeah, and that's a whole different subject, social media and how people get news through social media. I personally am not on Twitter. I think Twitter is a terrible thing. It's just, if you read some of the comments on there and the hatred and the viciousness,
not on social media.
Oh man, it's bad. Just reading tweets that Trump puts out and reading the thousands and thousands of comments. I mean, it's almost depressing. And people can say anything they want. And nowadays everyone is a reporter. It seems like anyone that wants to comment on any type of political issue. I mean, they're their own reporters. And you have fights that break out between family members on social media, and it gets extremely hairy and very very vicious. And it is what it is. I mean, and if that's the way that we're moving towards how people actually get the news, I think there's a lot of responsibility that has to be talked about, and how we provide that truth to people.
Yep. Well, hey, Joey, I appreciate you coming on to talk about this theme of the week, free press versus media. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you, Josh. Listen, keep up the great work. And, I want to just make a point real quick, if I can. Local news is really very, very important to any society. And I think, Conduit News is a great source. And I want to encourage your listeners to sign up via text message. I'm a member, and I love it. And if your audience, all they have to do is text the word join to 501-292-2683, and to get the latest in Arkansas news and politics. It's a great source. You get text messages on upcoming events. So again, that number is to 501-292-2683, and text the word join to that. And look forward to talking to you again in the future, Josh.
Nice, yeah. All right, Joey, we'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.